Hello there everybody, it's about a 92 AK Nightmare, and welcome back to Irae interview with Kaziklu Bey. In the last episode, well, how do I summarize last episode other than the fact that pretty much Claudia has Bey wrapped around her finger, and it's just, oh dear. Kind of glad that he didn't go through with that, but it's interesting how much power Claudia has over this ruthless monster of a character. It's I don't know how to summarize just how interesting it is seeing Bey in like a different light, and also just seeing him act the way he is right now. You know what I mean? I guess I'm just so used to his brutal personality, or not brutal, just his brutality in general. Just seeing him seem almost semi-normal. I mean, if you take away the homicidal and terrible tendencies, he seems almost human, especially involving Claudia. It's an interesting experience, considering what I spent 90-some or give or take, like, let's say 60. I know the entire series is like 90-some episodes on my channel, but I know I don't think I spent 90 exact episodes with the guy. So I would give an average, maybe like 50, 60 episodes total with the dude. I don't know. It's interesting. Upon hearing those words, I felt a revelation strike me like a bolt of lightning.
Yamiだと。さあよ、御身は闇だ、メトシェラよ。そして無論これは例え話でもない。事実をありのままに言って。陰鬱な人物や非道徳な輩を指して彼は闇のようであるとか心に闇を抱えているとかそういった意味ではないのだよ。大体からして闇と悪性を同義語のように語ること自体が間違っている。
Certainly interesting that we're back here now.
慣用句としては優秀なので私も時には使うがね。だが御身の前では侮辱になるというものだ。事実、闇を厭わしき概念とは思っておるまい。
What the hell is this music? And I want to know what it is because it sounds really good. Of course not. The dark is a mere phenomena with no inherent good or bad to it. Humans happen to be diurnal, so they have a primal fear of night ingrained into them from the days of being hunted by nocturnal predators. It was given to them, and now they merely take it for granted. After all, to animals living in the night, the dark is nothing but ruins.
しかしならば、なぜ私は人の姿をしているのか。この身が真に闇だというなら、そもそも形さえ持たないはず。お前の答えに感じるものがあるというのは認めよう。だが、あまりにも現実味がなさすぎる。まるで霞をつかむがごとき話だ。
The humanoid darkness. Simply preposterous, I say. Naturally, I was unable to agree to that. In response, the magician gave an exaggerated gesture of lament.
自然の擬人化は理解しがたい概念かね。何も珍しいものではないだろう。少なくとも御身が人類の限界を超えた長命であることだけは間違いない。であれば覚えているはずだ。運命の黎明、世界がどのようなものだったかを。ありていに当時は神秘が溢れていた。
As I was told that, memories flowed back to me, and I nodded in response. The recollections were distant and vague, but they hadn't faded enough for me to consider them a dream.
巨石が宙を飛び、天空に浮遊する宮殿があっただろう。
戦は魔術の応酬であり、大陸を沈没させる津波が起こったのを覚えている。
Oh my god, I just love that little tune.
人語を話す獣がおり、また草木と意志を交換する人間も珍しくない。
そうだ。 私は覚えている。かの日、あらゆる神秘は日常の光景だ。
ゆえ
The mercurial man formed a grid and directed his finger at me, as if to strengthen his point.
当時は神々の時代だった。いえ、正確には神の眷属というべきだ。稲妻が、暴風が、大地が、そして火が、水が、それぞれ神として擬人化され信仰されていたはずだ。御身はその時代に生まれた一中に過ぎない。闇の神聖師、何も破綻した道理ではないだろう。人は恐ろしきものにも貸し付いて敬いを示す。原始からある暗闇という概念に対する畏敬の念、それが御身を生んだのだよ。ああ、私は覚えている。いいな、思い出した。
Oh god. As if celebrating the truth about me and cursing some part of himself, he heaved an admiring sigh that caused my computer to go into overdrive. Why is it that only Mercurius does this to my computer? My god, it goes into like a high... Okay, I have the sensitivity, I might have the sensitivity turned down a little bit, but for crying out loud, my computer is making like a really high, like, whirring noise right now. And it only happens when this asshole shows up. At that moment, I felt like the man. No, the world underwent a change. Until then, I'd perceived him as a flowing body of mercury. But suddenly, his shape was clear. It felt familiar, but I didn't feel like I actually knew it. What I did know was that the unique agate eyes that were looking at me were ravaged by a profound sense of resignation, despair, and madness.
脳された闇の王よ、まるで蛇に睨まれたなんとやらという風情だな。安堵なされよ。私は御身を丸飲みにしようなどと思っていない。
Okay, which part of me are you planning on eating? I kind of need my arms. I might slightly need my legs. I can offer you a kidney.
黙れ。口をつぐむがいい。
His remarks were unpleasant. I felt as if they coiled around my origin, so I didn't try to bite back at him. I focused entirely on finding the specifics of his answer.
聞いてもおらぬことをさえずる舌は二度と使うな。私の問いにのみお前は答えよ。果実、世界は神秘に満ち、神々の時代であったという点は否定しない。だがならば、なぜ今はこのようになった。城は飛ばず、魔術は廃れ、かつての真実は幻想の類とされ始めているではないか。改めて見回せぬ、これは対価。物質的には豊かとなりつつあるかもしれんが、霊的には後退している。
This music is so good. I'm half tempted to use it for my Yahtzee loop when it's done.
少なくとも、お前を除く現代の魔術師たちは脆弱だ。空を飛ぶということにすら、生涯費やしても届かぬものが多いのだろう。その程度、昔はただの子供ですらやっていたはずだというのだ。
I could remember it well. I'd been born in that age, but eventually I began wandering the night all on my own.
彼らはどこへ行ったのだ。なぜこの世界は先細りを起こしている。
The magician replied to my sharp truth-seeking words with nothing but clarity.
大元が死にかけているからだよ。つまり寿命だよ。これも摂理だ。しかり、永遠に拡大していく断りなど存在しない。
And thus, he said apathetically there was nothing strange about it fading with time.
最初に眷属という言葉を使っただろう。すなわち果実あふれていたあまたの神父はまだ大元が若々しかった自分による力の余波副産物に過ぎ、難しく考える必要は何もない。老人よりは青年の方が強く健やかで美しく、発散する命の波動が周囲を鮮やかに彩っていくもの。黎明期、世界は神の愛に満ちていたのだ。故に過剰ともいえる神聖の流出が親に近いものらを生じさせたというだけのこと。
And I was one of them, he claimed, like a father belatedly blessing the birth of a child.
当時魔術の講師がごく簡単で、今をはるかに凌駕する出力を発揮できたのも同じ理屈だ。要するに、ああ、別に他意はないと断っておきたいのだが、
母体が双剣であればあるほど寄生虫もまた元気がいい。
I went and spoke a comparison that I felt he would use. The flourishing supernatural of the past age was only because God, the world, was young. Someone was seated at the center of all. He was the apotheosis of existence and the originator of sorcery. All of creation took the nature and color of the prayer he'd weaved, and the after effects he granted the world came to be known as the arcade. The idea seemed perfectly reasonable. If there was a being that could make all of heaven and earth with a mere "let there be light," it is only natural for the byproducts of the feat to become great powers in the hands of men. And those who'd use them nonchalantly bled for more. They treaded the steps of the Father, effectively repeated his words, "Let there be light, let there be light, let there be light." Because of that, magic had immense effects. There were flying palaces, fantastical beasts, and even nature personified. The war god of lightning, the earth mother of the land, the gods of wind, water, fire, and darkness.
私はそうした存在なのだ。
まあ大元の影響を強く受けるという点は確かだろう。宿主が弱れば等しく弱り消えていく。原初にあふれていた神秘はほぼ使い切られ、かといって新しく余剰が生まれるほど大元も元気ではない。いずれ尽きる定めだよ。世界は死に向かっていると気づいている者がどれだけいるかは知らんがね。
ならば私も長くはないのか。
That was probably the reason why I gave my question to people and judged them worthy of death if they had no answer. I might have actually been aware of the truth about myself. Those who couldn't see that the world was dying and knew nothing of the dark, me, were as good as nothing. And thus, they had no reason to live.
そうなるな。しかし恩には他の者らが消えても残り続けてきた。今現在最も年下手存在なのは確かだ。故にメトシェラ、この世界における最長老だよ。誇られるが、誰にでもつかめる称号ではない。
The strangely sincere praise made me form a self-mocking grin. Though it was true that I had lived long, I never believed it was any sort of achievement.
どうして私一人が残ったのか。どうして他の者らのごとく消えなかった
That was the last question I had. It was mostly directed at myself, but the magician gave a clear answer regardless.
本味が一番親と似ていたからではないのかな。つまり諦めが悪いのだろう。この世界も同様、追いさらばえながらなんともしぶとい。
I guess you technically could say that.
The world is kind of stubborn in some regard. Just gonna say that.
それはきっと叶えたい望みがあるからではと考える。
望む願い
That might have been true. Like I just thought I'd led an empty, ridiculous life with no achievements to name. And exactly because I had something I sought, I never allowed death to claim me. It was a sentiment born of pride. I merely wanted to prove that what was inside of me was more than just the void.
これからはその何かを探す旅に生きられるが良いだろう。私もまたそうしている。
ではお前も同じ
The man gave me answers, showed me the way, and knew of the prosperous age of mythology. He too was definitely an ancient figure, so I wanted to know him better. I wished to hear what he was seeking.
しかり。だが私も己の真なる渇望がわからない。それを探している最中だ。故にまた会おう、メトシェラよ。我らは共に諦めが悪い者同士。
He, Theophrastus von Hohenheim, spoke as though he already knew that our paths would cross once more.
この枯渇していく世界でも、その気になればかつての意を震える神の建造、最後の神。
Theophrastus von Hohenheim. I think I've heard. No. At most, I recognize the name Hohenheim.
I knew that he would surely have a new name we next met. I decided to follow his example and learn such an artifice myself.
我が身をメトシェ
I had finally learned the truth of my nature, that I was the dark. And no matter how many names I donned over the years, that singular fact remained unshaken.
Okay. Interview with Kaziklu Bey.
ビルヘルム？ビルヘルム？ねえ、起きてください。朝ですよ。
I heard my name and felt someone shake my shoulders. The fucking sunlight was leaking in, touching my cheeks, making me painfully aware that it was morning. But it wasn't like I had a reason to wake up. I hated mornings and I wasn't employed or anything. I had more than enough justification for laying in bed instead of starting the day like an ordinary person.
くそ、うるせえな。
And that was why I continued sleeping and asked her to keep quiet. Telling her to shut... Yeah, sure, that's asking her to keep quiet. However...
ビルヘルム？
Fine. I finally realized the situation was weird and jumped awake.
なんなんですか、いきなりもう。驚いちゃうじゃないですか。いたたたた。
Claudia was right in front of me, sitting on the floor and looking at me with mild anger in her eyes. The fuck was going on?
お前、なんで普通にしてんだよ。
I thought you couldn't move.
私がどうかしましたか？
だから、わかんだろ。バカかてめえは。
Just last night, she was completely unable to even leave bed. Sure, she was an E that didn't care about her health, but it should have been physically impossible regardless. And yet she got up, walked all the way to my room, and woke me up like it wasn't a big deal. Plus, even putting all that aside, I could smell that she was making breakfast. What the fuck? After looking at me, completely at a loss for words, Claudia finally realized what I meant and got up while dusting off her backside.
体のことなら心配なんかいりませんよ。見ての通り元気ですから。
I guess you could say that.
自分でもよくわからないところはありますけど、なんだか私びっくりしちゃうほど絶好調なんです。
Claudia puffed up her chest proudly. She didn't seem to be bluffing.
マジかよ、ありえね
Made so little sense that He was left feeling annoyed. I hadn't the slightest clue about what happened to her body. It seemed like a miracle, but there's no way I was buying into that shit. The situation was far too strange for me to just let it slide, so I had to do whatever I could to find out the truth.
何ですか？
うるせえ。ちょっとお前黙ってろ。
I reached down and touched Claudia's neck. I wasn't a doctor, so I couldn't examine her thoroughly, but I could more or less learn her overall state by checking her blood flow. Evaluation? She was all normal. There was nothing strange about her pulse. Sure, there were signs of anemia, but they weren't strong enough to signal she was in a bad state.
Of course, of course that the vampire would know everything about blood and all that stuff. Of course he would be a medical expert on that.
Yeah, compared to how she was like last night, she really wasn't kidding that she was feeling good now. But
気のせいか。
there was something really weird about her, but I couldn't tell what. I was unable to figure anything out.
優しいんですね、ビルヘルム。
はは
Her words were so off the mark that I reflexively let go of her neck. Then Claudia gazed at me, a pleased expression on her face.
あなたにそういういたわりはあまり期待していなかったんで驚きましたが、やっぱり嬉しいものですね。
Hey!
改めてお気遣いありがとうございます。
Don't call me goddamn considerate. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of a moment here.
Actually, what the fuck am I apologizing for?
でも本当に平気ですから、そんなに心配しないでください。ほら、見ての通り大丈夫。
She struck a triumphant pose. I wanted to slap her stupid head around, but I was able to hold myself back.
何が優しさだ。気色悪いこと言ってんじゃねえよ。
I could have explained it all in detail, but she still wouldn't have gotten my point. Hell, she probably just interpreted it in a positive light regardless. Would have been a waste of energy and breath. Anyway, didn't make any sense. But if she really was alright, I just had to go along with it. With that conclusion, I heaved an exhausted sigh.
じゃあそういうことで、ビルヘルムはあっちに座って待っててください。朝食の準備をしてたんですが、じゃがいもが足りないんで、今からひとっ走り買ってきます。
Girl, just get Spine to do it.
ちょっと待てや
Potatoes? That's how fucking stupid was she?
んなもんどうだっていいんだよ。何がひとっ走りだ。いい加減にしやがれ。
そんなじゃがいもがないドイツ料理なんて何をどうすればいいんですか？それじゃあ礼儀正しいビルヘルムみたいで気持ち悪いことになっちゃいますよ。
I'm sorry, are you implying I can't be polite? Frick, if it's gonna be unpleasant, I'll be as goddamn polite as I damn well please.
喧嘩売ってんのかこの野郎
I held at her, but she showed no intention of backing down. When my frustration reached its peak, I turned around so quickly I almost punched her.
わかった。俺が買ってきてやる。てめえはおとなしくここで飯作ってろ。
She has you wrapped around her finger. My God, man.
本当ですか？ありがとうございます。
You better count yourself lucky that none of the other LDO members are seeing this, man.
やっぱり今日のビルヘルムは優しいですね。何かいいことありました？
Best thing that could happen here was her becoming a bit more perceptive. With that thought, I walked out into the dizzying sunlight to buy some damn potatoes. What a shitty way to start the day.
Huh. Well then, there's an image for you.
Apparently, the bad start was a sign that the day just wouldn't get any better, and that I'd have to deal with stupid shit for its entirety. After all, it wasn't long until I was met with another fucking disaster.
これはなんとも興味深い絵面だな。まさかこんな状況に出くわすとはさすがに予想していなかったぞ。
Oh my God, that is just utterly adorable. Are you actually buying groceries, Wilhelm?
Ah, shut the hell up!
天下のビルヘルム・エーレンブルグ中尉殿がジャガイモを持って市場巡りとは驚きだよ。午後から雪でも降りかね。
I bought a load of potatoes and quickly headed back home, but then I met a familiar face. I really didn't want anyone to see me looking so pathetic, but even that was too much to ask apparently. She wasn't alone either. Eleanor was accompanied by two of the most annoying bitches imaginable. Fucking hell.
嘘でしょ？ 何ですかこのありえないくらい気色悪い状況は。恐ろしいほど似合わないわね。逆に犯罪的とすら思うわよ。
Getting surrounded by 3 women while I held bags of potatoes in both my hands made me want to throw them and run, but that clearly wasn't an option. However, it definitely wasn't a situation where I could just try and look cool. Acting big would have made me look like a joke, so all I did was click my tongue.
うるせえな、ほっとけよ。そりゃ俺だって買い物くらいするわ。
Oh no, I'm never going to let you live this down, boy.
だいたいお前らこそ朝っぱらから何してやがる。
Good question.
Sure, my situation was weird, but they were a pretty good match. Seeing those 3 together was really damn rare. After all, Babylon and Samiel fucking hated each other's guts. Sometimes one of the 2 operated with Beatrice, like in Kachin, but that group right there almost never happened.
知らねえ間に仲直りでもしたのかよ。
No, I'm pretty sure I still hate her guts. Yeah, I pretty much do as well.
バカを言うな。私はこの女と仲違いなどしていないし、故に治る余地など花からない。
Right, that's true.
単純な話、最初から相手にしていないだけだ。そもそも今、どうしてこいつがここにいるのか全くもって理解できん。
それはこっちのセリフなんだけどね。私はビアトリスから食事の誘いを受けただけで、あなたに会うつもりなんか全然なかったのよ、エレオノーレ。
Catfight. Say that again and I'll burn you.
そうか。ならとっとと帰れよ。止めはせん。
あなたがね。
Oh my god.
もういい加減にしてくださいよ、二人とも。
Basically red versus blue over here.
Honestly, Beatrice was the one here who had to fucking quit, but I decided against saying that. She was basically doing her usual stupid meddling. To my knowledge, she was always stuck between the 2, and now she was trying to force them to get along. Waste of effort if you ask me. The antagonism between Babylon and Samiel wasn't that shallow. I didn't know the details, but that was exactly why I could just feel the gap between them. The world had relationships which just couldn't be salvaged, and theirs was one of them.
まあなんでもいいわ。勝手によろしくやってくれ。
If you excuse me, I got potatoes to cook.
ちょっと待ちなさい。人事みたいな顔してどうすりゃいいんですかこの状況。
You honestly expect me to be good at relationship advice? Fuck off if I cared. I mean, I was uninvolved. She was the one who shot out the situation, and I had no intention of wiping her ass.
行かせてやりなさい、ベアトリス。彼はクラウディアの世話で忙しいんだろうから。え？ああ、なるほど。そういうことなんですね。だからそんなにジャガイモ持って。うわ、改めて驚きです。
And like that, you just made it worse.
Well, to be fair, she's not wrong, is she?
意外に海外しい男だな。
I can just feel that he's just biting his tongue really hard to the point where he's probably already chipped off good portions of it.
I wanted to head back as soon as possible because I didn't want to hear someone like that, but there they went.
誤解すんな。別にあんな野郎はどうだっていいし、俺はこれっぽっちも急いじゃいねえよ。暇でしょうがねえから、お前らのアホ話に付き合ってやろうじゃねえか。ありがたく思えやこのボケ。
I guess that's one way to interject yourself into a conversation. I'm pretty sure if I tried that, I'd get slapped.
I really got pissed at my own disposition, but this was one of those times. The flow of the situation was such that I just couldn't deal with it any other way.
レイ、あなたがバカなのはよーくわかりましたから、これ以上バカをさらさなくてもいいんですよ。家賃で散々減点を稼いだんだから、これ以上マイナスを重ねないでもいいでしょうに。せっかく似合いもしないプラスをやろうとしてるんだから、無理しないで帰ったら。
Holy shit, did I want them to shut it? They're probably just trying to chide me, but to me, those seem like nothing but fighting words.
まあ、本人がいいというのだから構わんだろう。貴様らも他人の問題にいちいち口を挟むなよ。
See, she gets it.
そ
そんなこと言われましても、こいつがあまりにもダメ男なんだからしょうがないじゃないですか。それに前から不思議だったんですけど、少佐ってなんだかベイに甘くないですか？
Don't you understand? I'm technically the best girl. We both are basically psychotic killers. I'm pretty sure it's easy for us to get along. What's so hard to understand about that?
別にそういうつもりはない。ただ一定の評価をしているだけだ。
Yeah, she gets it.
こいつはこいつで物の分かった男だろう。少なくとも貴様らよりはマシな部分を持っている。
あなたの偏った価値基準で判断されたくもないんだけど、確かにことさらおせっかいを焼く義理もないわね。
そういうことだ。ベイの女問題がどうなろうと私の知ったことではない。ともあれ、こちらの話に付き合ってくれるというならちょうどよかった。貴様にも聞きたいことがある。
Up.
なんだよ。
The flow of the conversation was pissing me off, so I was just glad the subject changed. As if to compose herself, Samuel put a cigarette in her mouth, lit it, and began smoking. After exhaling the fumes, she finally continued.
ルートビヒと言ったろ。あの男についてだ。
Ah, a familiar pose.
今日はもともとこのバカ娘から奴のことを聞くつもりだった。それがどういうわけだかいらん奴を連れてきごって。
カチン絡みのもろもろはリザさんが責任者なんだから当然じゃないですか。
黙れキルヒアイゼン。ともかく私の話はそれだよベイ。季節してだが現場の人間が揃ったのだから聞かせてもらおう。貴様から見てあの男はどうだ？
That was the same question I'd given Malleus and Spine, and it clearly meant she didn't like the guy either. I understood her completely. To us, anyone who acted all high and mighty before Lord Hydric deserved nothing but death.
本音を言えば今すぐ殺したいくらいだがな。ハイドリヒョウが奴を客人扱いしている以上はそうもいかん。
You know, I'm getting to the point where I think you and I should just go out for a drink at this point.
だから今のところはいざという時のために分析か。お前らしいわ。
貴様は違うのか？
どうかね。少なくともお前ほど生真面目じゃねえが。
Samuel was concealing her urge to kill Ludwig because it was the reasonable thing to do. I could relate to that, but my main reason was probably different. It's hard to put into words, but I felt I had to size him up in case I ever had to fight him.
で、聞きたいのはあいつの強さだ。
Yeah, she probably didn't, but I asked that because it felt like a good way to continue the conversation. In response, Samuel shook her head.
その手のことは関係ない。あれが強かろうと弱かろうと何が変わるわけでもないだろう。勝てるからやる、負けるからやらぬという次元で戦争は考えん。ハイドリヒョウの命あらば誰であろうと撃つのみだ。
Yeah, short, sweet, to the point. That sounds about right.
故にどうでもよいのだよ。仮に私が負けて滅びるなら所詮その程度だったという話だろう。最初から修羅の波動に付き合える器ではない。
According to her, that was the mentality of a truly mortal Einarjar.
ま、確かにそりゃそうだな。
Lord Hydric wouldn't be considerate of us when picking his opponents, so we merely had to destroy what he willed us to. That was one of the truths of war. The weak would simply die and drop out. Samuel was on the money there. In beginning to consider the enemy's strength was effeminate. So true that I chuckled in self-deprecation.
悪いな。つまんねえこと言っちまったよ。それで、なら一体何なんだ？お前はあいつの何を知りたい？
Samuel looked at Babylon and Beatrice before giving a brief answer.
動機だよ。いや、目的と言えばいいから。
I guess it wouldn't hurt to figure out the guy's motive.
それって、
つまり彼が何のためにいるのかってこと？
そうだ。あれが本当にバチカンのものかどうかは関係ない。 調べた限りは疑いようもないらしいが、その真偽はもはや意味をなさんだろう。なぜあの男はわざわざ貴様らについてきたのだ。ハイドリヒョウも言っておられたろう。奴にとって同盟の筋云々は建前だ。
Plus, we didn't actually even have to force him to follow us. Sure, we'd have stopped him from running away, but that wasn't the point.
確かに嫌々ながらってわけじゃなさそうだったからな。
Ludwig had some sort of reason, a goal, that had him cooperating with us. However, we didn't know what it actually was, so Samuel wanted to find out. I can understand her point. That was probably also the first thing I had to discover before picking a fight with the guy.
心当たりはないのか貴様ら。これを明確にしておかんと初動で遅れを取りかねんぞ。不意打ちを食らうことになる。
That reminded me of Spine's words. Though hiding your talons or whatever didn't work multiple times, it could lead to great achievements if the preemptive strike was used well. Of course, that also meant dealing with the counterattack, but in our case, even if we retaliated and killed him, the wound he'd leave would still persist.
つまりこうかな。あいつの狙いが俺の首だったとした場合、それを取られた後で野郎の首を取り返しても負けみてえなもんだと。
そうだな。向こうは目的を果たしたのだから、少なくとも勝ったとは言えんだろう。痛み分けと表現するのさえ苦しい。最初の不意打ちで黒煙卓が崩壊することはありえんとしても、ソーガの 1,2 本なら折れるのかもしれんぞ。そしてそうなれば、それは無駄な消耗だ。ハイドリヒョウへの不忠になる。故にやり返せば問題ないとするのは怠慢だし、報復を恐れてあの男が何もせんと決めつけるのは楽観だな。実際にできるできないはともかく、本人は逃げられるつもりでいるのかもしれんだろう。結果どんな状況が起きようと、我々は完膚なきまでに勝たねばならない。
Samuel basically wanted us to be on our toes so that we didn't end up embarrassing ourselves. And that was why we had to figure out Ludwig's goal.
If he's somehow related to the anomaly, then... Well, if he is Methuselah, and he is darkness itself, possibly. Shit, I'm actually having trouble trying to figure out what his goal would be.
We had to be battle ready at all times, regardless of whether the guy was strong, weak, smart, or stupid. We weren't real soldiers if we showed an opening. Acting like that would devalue Lord Heydrich.
理屈だな。俺も気になっちゃいるんだが、いまいち読めねえんだよ。
I had no idea what went on in his head. It was generally gloomy, so I never felt any real motivation or passion from him. As I racked my brain for ideas, Beatrice started talking dumb shit again!
もしかしたら単にベイが嫌いで邪魔をしたいだけだったり。だって彼クラウディアには優しいじゃないですか。つまりこれは三角関係ってやつなのですよ。
Samuel, please smack her in the head. Both Samuel and I simultaneously smacked her stupid head.
God damn it.
ちょっといきなり何するんですか。
I expected Samuel to just do it, but no, both of them.
気色悪いこと抜かすんじゃねえよ。撃ち殺すぞ、クソチビ。
God damn it.
まったくだ。貴様の頭にはそれしかないのか。
Oh my god.
失礼ですね。これでもちゃんと考えてるつもりなんですよ。
If that was all she could come up with after actually thinking, then she was clearly a few cards shy of a full deck. Samuel and I completely disregarded her words, but Babylon formed a smile and sided with Beatrice.
そんなにおかしなことかしら。私もそうじゃないかと考えてたわよ。あらゆる状況を想定しろというのなら、それも立派な動機として成り立つじゃない、エレオノーレ。
You can't be serious.
そうです。そしてその場合、衝撃で受ける痛手というのはこいつが振られる未来に他なりません。 私としてはむしろ喜ばしい出来事です。
Hey, listen here, I'm the protagonist, goddammit.
もちろんクラウディアにしてもそうでしょうけどね。あなたと一緒にいてもいいことなんか何もないんですから。
I was brought to the verge of snapping and said something I shouldn't have.
勝手に決めんな。あいつはアホだから不満なんか持ってねえし、今だってヘラヘラしながら飯作ってるわ。
Oh no.
そうなの？
Their eyes widened. When I realized I fucked up, it was too late.
まさかベイ、あなた病人に鞭打ってるわけじゃないでしょうね。
違う。あいつが勝手にやってるだけだ。
ということは元気になったの？
I reluctantly nodded. Her recovery was a mystery, but it was also the truth.
うわ、本当ですか？だったら回帰祝いをしましょうよ。ほらほら、なんなら今すぐにでも。
Samuel, I'm begging you, stop her.
I do not want to get involved in any of this.
だからうせんなこのアホ。
As I struggled to keep Beatrice from taking the potatoes, Samuel forced her off me. Thank you.
やめろキルヒアイゼン。何にせよ相手は病み上がりなのだろう。今騒がしくするのは迷惑にしかならん。
確かにそりゃそうですけども。
あなたにしては随分とまっとうな気遣いじゃない。
別に私は道理の通らんことが嫌いなだけだ。何かとかしましい貴様らも。
I mean, she has a point.
Samuel stubbed at her cigarette, then turned to me. Following that, she spoke in an inquisitive tone.
ベイ、あの二層が復調したというのは本当なのだな。
I literally have no reason to lie.
ああ、わけわかんねえが嘘じゃねえや。
ほう、なるほど。なるほどな。
I mean, maybe a sudden spark of life in her final moments or something like that? She was the only one aside from me who knew about Claudia's body. Her recovery probably surprised her as much as me, but it seemed like she was seeing something I didn't.
ならば結構。貴様は貴様の事情を通せばいいさ。せいぜい戸締まりには気をつけろよ。私が言ったことを忘れずにな。完膚なきまでに勝てるよう努力するのが我らの務めだ。
After shooting those parting words at me, Samuel turned around and walked into the crowd, leaving us all confused.
なんですあれ。
さあ、昔からああやって勝手に納得するようなところはあったけど。
Now, I can already. I think we all know the actual image that's probably going on in her mind. That one shoujo as fuck one. I don't know, probably not.
彼女なりに答えは見つかったということかしらね。
So she realized Ludwig's goal? But if so, how? What was it?
まあ何にせよ、クラウディアが元気になったのならよかったじゃない。引き止めて悪かったわね、ベイ。彼女、大事にしてあげないとダメよ。
そうです。あの子を泣かせたら私は絶対許しませんからね。あと、あなたの毒牙にかかるのも断固阻止してやるんですから。
That's a terrifying thought.
She was annoying me again, but I didn't even feel like replying, so I just waved them off and walked on home. Claudia's mysterious recovery had made Samuel realize something, but I couldn't tell what. Filled me with an inexplicable sense of unease, which, along with the shitty fucking sunlight, accompanied me all the way back. Why she recovered so well? That wasn't the only shitty day I had.
ほらビルヘルム、今日もいい天気ですよ。
The next day, and the day after, Claudia, instead of growing weaker, just continued to grow healthier and healthier.
ねえビルヘルム、また教会に行きましょう。もう少しあなたに信心深くなってほしいって私は言いましたよね。だから一緒に。さあぐずってないで。
I always knew she was proactive and strangely forceful, but at that point, she was so bright that she freaked me out. She'd lead me around with vitality you'd never expect from someone with terminal cancer.
美味しいですか？じゃあ今度他の皆さんにもご馳走しましょうね。食事は大勢で取った方が楽しいですから。ってああ、すぐそうやって嫌そうな顔をする。
However, I eventually stopped thinking that she was in good health. In fact, I felt that she grew more flat and transparent every time she turned more lively. Also, I couldn't really put it into words, but...
ビルヘルム？ねえ、聞いてますか、ビルヘルム？
It almost seemed like she wasn't the one controlling her body. I couldn't see what, but there was something strange at work. However, I had no way of confirming it.
Maybe something actually happened in that dream that she had.
私は今幸せです。怖いくらいに夢のように。幸せなんです、ビルヘルム。
As Claudia spoke of her daily blissful dreams, I continued seeing nothing but nightmares.
死ね、死ね、バカが。
In the blood-stained rose garden, Helga laughed as she spouted nothing but curses. She wasn't even reacting to anything I said. I always had trouble communicating with her, but it was the first time she'd ignored me so thoroughly. Yet, not absolutely.
There's a tune I haven't heard since DS Irae 1.
No idea if she was trying to sing a lullaby or something, but the fact that she was using a nursery rhyme I had no good memories of made it obvious she was conscious of me. Helga looked at me with purely vampiric eyes as she emitted a sweet yet rotten scent reminiscent of tropical flowers.
愛してるわ、ビルヘルム。私はあなただけのもので、あなたは私だけのもの。
Until death do us part, no, even beyond that, she whispered with a bewitching smile stained in fresh blood. The sight was an everyday occurrence at that point. 4 days passed since Claudia's mysterious recovery.
ほら、帰ったぞバカ野郎。
Because of another one of her stupid fixations regarding food, I'd ended up having to buy her some tomatoes, and I just kicked the door open and came back from that. Claudia instantly ran up to me and talked about the details of the menu I couldn't even care about. At least, that was what she normally did, but it was different on that particular day.
おかえりなさい、ビルヘルム。今日はお客様が来てるんですよ。
客?
That was news to me. With great unease, I pushed her to the side and walked in.
お邪魔している。なかなかいい住まいだな。
You!
てめえ
It was Ludwig von Rosenkrantz. The son of a bitch was relaxing in my place like it was no big deal. The hell did you do?
どうした？そんなところに突っ立っていられると居心地が悪い。まずはかけたらどうだね。
黙れよ。てめえは何しに来た？
I squeezed out the unpleasantness in my stomach and turned it into words, but the sheethead warded them off with a chuckle.
なぜも何もご商売に預かるためというほかないだろう。せっかく招待されたのだ。断る方が比例に当たる。なあおい、 どうして私はお前に噛みつかれなければならんのだ。率直に心外だぞ。
正体だと？
The unexpected answer made me turn my head toward Claudia. She looked back at me with a surprised expression.
はい、私が招待しました。
Her answer seemed half to beg, like she wasn't actually certain of that somehow.
彼女を脅すなよ、ビルヘル。そんな剣幕ではまともに話もできんだろう。クラウディ、どうやら彼は事の因果をはっきりさせておきたいらしい。故に恐れず答えてくれ。今私はなぜここにいるのかな。
それは。
After a pause lasting a few seconds, Claudia began speaking clearly.
私がお招きしたからです。
どうぞお越しくださいと言ってくれたよ
はい、確かに。
な。戸を開け迎え入れてくれたよ
How you doing with this line of question?
その通りです。間違いなく。
な。というわけだ。納得したかね。
Ludwig looked at me as if to see whether I had more problems. Honestly, I wasn't able to wipe the doubts from my head. Claudia shouldn't have had a means of contacting him. I mean, not even I knew where Ludwig stayed. Couldn't have been staying at the castle, and if that wasn't the case, he had to be somewhere in Paderborn or some nearby town. I didn't even let her go outside the past 4 days. Sure, she might have snuck out without my knowledge, but was I really supposed to believe she somehow bumped into him? Like hell. Chances were way too low, but in that case, what was the truth?
カチンからの帰路、その途中に決めたことだよ。まったくお前は、ほとほと猜疑心の強い男だな。そんなことでは面倒な事態も多かろう。生きにくくはならないか。
The biggest trouble I had at the moment was him, and hearing him spout that made me grind my teeth and release a beastly groan.
私、出過ぎた真似をしてしまったんでしょうか。あなたに断りもなく、勝手なことをしてしまい。
おいおい、それでは私がまるで邪魔者みたいではない。いい加減この不毛な議論に落としどころを見つけてくれ。そもそも彼は別にここの家主ではないだろう。ならばその意向が最優先されねばならんという理屈はない。
Hey, this is my house. I totally own it.
Just writing your name on the side of the wall doesn't make it your house. I'm just gonna let you know that right now.
片方のみの了解で問題なしとする道理も確かにないな。しかしそれでも権利的には半々だろう。よってクラウディアが許した以上、お前が拒絶したところで私を去らせることはできない。どうしても気に食わんというのなら、むしろそちらが引いたらどうだ。私はそういうことでも構わんぞ。というか、その方がありがたい。いつ外るやもしれぬ凶暴な男と食卓を囲めるほど肝が太くはないのでな。
Okay, that was all I could take. I forced out a sign, used all the remaining restraint I had left.
飯だ、クラウディア。並べてくれ。
はい、わかりました。
Claudia was clearly relieved, while Ludwig formed a wry grin. He seemed disappointed that I stayed. I didn't fucking care whether he was right or wrong, but I knew that nothing good would come out of going berserk in that situation.
Hey, you're learning restraint. Good boy.
And so...
ごちそうになった。素晴らしい腕前だな、クラウディア。久しぶりに温かい人間らしい食事をした気がするよ。
After we finished eating, it was time for a post-meal chat. I barely said a word, and the mood definitely wasn't pleasant, but Ludwig didn't seem to care. Claudia, too, either got used to it or just gave up. She didn't seem uncomfortable in the least. The two were making merry while completely ignoring me.
死は母君かね。よければ教えてもらいたいな。
あ、いえ、私は物心つく前に修道院へ預けられたので、親のことはよく知らないんです。
Orphan?
だけど、そうですね。親代わりの方々には事欠きませんでしたから、死は誰かと言われれば、そこで私を育ててくれた二層の皆様。あと、これは料理のことじゃないんですが、すみません。笑わないでくださいね。
誓おう。何かな。
Claudia momentarily hung her head in embarrassment before whispering her words.
フローレンス・ナイチンゲール女子。彼女が私の憧れというか、その
Florence Nightingale?
心の死というわけか。なるほど。確かに言われてみればうなずけるところがある。
本当ですか？
ああ、無鉄砲なところなどがな。
なんだかバカにされてる感じがします。
I had no idea who they were talking about, but from what I could tell, she was some famous nun from the past who probably had a few screws loose.
看護団に加わっていたと聞くが、それもその影響かな。君なりのクリミア戦争を見出していたわけだ。
Oh, Crimean. Whoops. I'm sorry. I mentally mispronounced that.
一応そういうことになりますかね。逆に迷惑をかけることの方が多かったように思いますし、今はそこを離れているので偉そうには言えませんが。
ではなぜ君は所属を離れ、矢に下ったのだろう。
That was obviously because I took her with me. The answer was so blatant that the question seemed stupid. However, Claudia said something I didn't expect.
恐怖した心では、なんと小さなことしかできないのだろう。
あ？
Confused, I tilted my head. Her words didn't make any sense to me, but Ludwig appeared to know them well.
女子の有名な言葉だな。それが関係あるのかね。
はい、ナイチンゲールは恐れに駆られた人の無力さを指摘しています。でも当時の私は逆に恐怖を求めているようなところがありました。なぜならあまり怖いと感じることができなかったので。
いわく半分だから。君はよくそう言っていたと聞いているが。
その通りです。でも私のそんなところはきっとナイチンゲールのおっしゃったこととは違う。
She placed her hand on her chest as if looking for something in her heart and continued.
彼女は恐怖に負けない愛や信念、つまり勇気を説いたんだと思います。怖くても逃げたくてもまっすぐ光に向かって立てる強さ。大事なのはそれだから。もともと恐怖感が薄いだけの人間にナイチンゲールの意志は体現できない。
故にまずは恐怖を知ろうと考えた。半分ではなく従前に。
そういうことです。なのでその
Claudia made a guilty expression and threw a glance at me. She'd basically gotten involved with me and the obsidian table because we seemed far more frightening than war.
なるほど。まあ、愚かしいと言いたいところだが、筋だけは通っているな。
すみません。
別に謝る必要はないよ。それで結局どうだったのかね。
I was asking her whether she'd experienced any fear, In response, Claudia formed a self-derisive smile.
あまり向いてなかったようで、今は方針を変えました。私はやっぱり明るいものが好きなので、それが必要だと分かっていても後ろ向きな努力はできない性格みたいです。
つまりあくまで光を目指すと、影が足りないなら足りないなりにその不足を補ってあまりある輝きを得るために。
そうなりますね。大それているでしょうか。
いいや。
Ludwig shook his head. His response was brief but dense with emotion.
君はそれでいいし、そうでなくてはならない。私が思っていた通りの女性だよ、クラウディア。闇なくして光は完全足りえない。確かに真理なのだろうが、そのために自己の純潔を損なわせる必要もないだろう。君があくまで光のごとくありたいなら、闇なるものがそばにいればいい話だ。そしてまた逆も真なり。闇のごとくあるものも、君がそばにいることで救われるのだよ。
Ludwig then made the sign of the cross and prayed. He wasn't just showing off or anything, but that made it all the more nauseating for me. I was at my fucking limit.
君こそ聖女だ。まさしく天使のようだよ、クラウディ
だからそんな大げさに言われてもですね、困るというか照れるというか。
Take some tips, Eleanor. Just saying, Wilhelm, you might take some tips.
それよりさっきルイは言っていたじゃないですか。人間らしい食事は久しぶりとか。私の料理程度でそこまで言うとか、なんだか心配になっちゃいますよ。一体今までどんな生活をしてたんですか？
Oh, well, just wandering the earth for millennia, just kind of doing that. Kind of gets boring after a while.
別に色も味もないようなつまらんものだよ。ただ世界中のさまざまな地へ足を運び、さまざまなものを見てきたな。だから中には、気に入っている景色もあった。極限に広がる白い夜。あれこそまさに地上で唯一光と闇が同居する場所。私が願う私の理想だ。
Oh, I imagine that would be one hell of a sight.
白夜。
Claudia's eyes lit up. She was clearly moved.
いいですね。私もいつか見てみたい。だってほら、ああいう大自然を前にしたとき、自分の悩みなんかちっぽけなものなんだって思えるじゃないですか。それも救いで、だから私は。
うるせえ。
Uh-oh.
That was the last straw for me. I snapped. The situation was just so fucking shitty and stupid that I couldn't help flipping the table and shutting them both up. Though my words were minimal, I was fucking boiling on the inside. Claudia was surprised while Ludwig looked at me like I was filth. I glared at them and began pushing my point.
大自然が素晴らしいだと。それに比べら自分はちっぽけなもんだから悩みもさっぱり晴れていくだと。頭湧いてんのかクソったれりゃ。そんなわけねえだろ。
Uh-oh. He pissed. He real pissed.
山だの海だのがどうだろうが、いや宇宙がなんだろうが、俺らには1ミリだって関係ねえ。何も現実は変わらね
え。I do believe we're having a bit of a moment of differing opinions, but that was quite rude. I was still in the middle of eating, just so you know.
綺麗なお星様でも眺めてりゃ減った腹が膨れんのか。空から金でも落ちてくんのか。敵が都合よく消えんのかよ。ぶち殺してくれるってのか。
And I would say Wilhelm's definitely not talking out of his ass. We kind of know how bad his upbringing was.
そんなことはね。だったら意味も全くねえ。現実逃避にさえなっちゃいねえぞ。自然ごときに何の価値があるっていうんだ。
I mean, I don't actually agree with him, but this is Wilhelm we're talking about. He's gone through some serious shit. Oh! Oh!
Ludwig suddenly glared at me with a gloomy look in his eyes. Made me cool up a bit, so I formed a mocking grin and provoked him.
ああ？なんだよ。文句あるってのか？お前あれか。このご時世に環境の保護でも目指してるアホかよ。
I don't know what it is, but I love the rough edges drawn around Ludwig's eyes. Okay, as somebody who loves to draw eyes, I love rough designs like these that can convey an actual feeling of either anger, torment, or just pure unbridled malice.
そのようなことは言っていない。だがお前、自分が踏みしめているものを一体何だと心得ている。どれだけ人が生きがろうと、世界が死ねばお前たちもまた死ぬのだぞ。
Yeah, the guy was a hopeless idiot, completely off base.
何を勘違いしてやがる。世界がぶっ壊れようと生き続けるのが人間だろう。
They'd keep on going even if the green withered, water ran dry, or the land were filled with poison. They'd ravage the Earth's corpse, then travel to other planets when there was nothing more to take. This wickedness, this destructive hegemony is part of human nature. It's the immortality, indestructibility, perpetuity. The Methuselah I seek. The Earth would take us with it? Ha! What a fucking joke.
大自然様には勝てねえなんてクソみたいな陶酔はちんけな魔術師にでもやらしとけ。進化する俺たちはカビの生えたくせえ概念なんか求めてねえし認めてねえし大体からして信じちゃいねえ。そんなもんは現実の中で雑魚い奴らがもて遊んでる妄想だ。基本性能がカスだから夢さえもがしょぼいんだよ。
I am quite happy that this is voiced because I don't think I could ever actively read some of these lines.
They didn't even consider that they could become God.
つまりお前ら要するにくだらねえぜ。
よくわかる。
Ludwig stood up, faced Claudia, and bowed to her, ignoring me completely.
今日は本当にありがとう。また後日、私と会ってくれるかね。
はい、それは構いませんけど。
ではそのように遠くない未来、白き夜を共に見よう。
Turned around and started walking out, but I followed after him.
ちょっとビルヘルム。
I ignored Claudia's panicking and stood next to Ludwig at the door.
つらかせ、まさか逃げねえだろうな。
当たり前だ。
Apparently, that idiot Beatrice wasn't all that wrong. About the guy's goals, I mean. As I realized that, I didn't need to hesitate. It's obvious what I had to do. It was only natural.
お前が私に何を従っているかは承知の上だ。
Everybody's gonna hate me. I have to end it there and I'm mad. I want to do more. God damn it. Oh, this is going to be fun. Oh, this is going to be fun. People are. Oh, God damn it. I keep forgetting the fucking word. Prelude. How's that? Ugh. Wait. Yeah, I can do this. I can do this. There. That's better. Okay. Oh, people are going to hate me for this. And I'm going to have to apologize as I have to end it here time-wise. This shit's gonna get fun. Shit's gonna get fun. And oh boy. Ugh. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I'm gonna have to end it here. So I apologize. I really don't want to, but I kind of have to at the moment. But anyway, oh yeah, this is gonna be good shit right here, I bet. Okay, we had a very interesting dinner to say the least, but unfortunately, it looks like we're gonna be having ourselves a bit of a fight with Ludwig, and I kind of want to leave that as its own episode. So I will apologize for the 30th time that I apologize that I'm ending it here at the moment. But if you all like this, be sure to let me know. Yeah, it's gonna be good. There's gonna be some good shit about to happen. But thank you all very much for watching. I gotta say, I don't know why. I like the way Samuel's portrayed in this story for some reason. I don't know why. I'm just starting to get a little bit into that sort of thing, you know what I mean? Thank you all so much for watching, and I will definitely see all of you guys in the next video. I hate that I'm ending it here, god damn it!